Hey guys, in 2023 I released a video that explained anything about Vietnamese driving license and how you can have it. As of 2025, things have changed, so now I will explain you again how to get a Vietnamese driving license with the new updates. And again, I'm going to focus on a bike and not a car. The infrastructures in Vietnam are designed mostly for bikes, and in my opinion, you don't really need a car in Vietnam unless you have a family with kids, and then you don't have a choice. Another important thing that you should know is that you have to have a residency in Vietnam in order to have a Vietnamese driving license, otherwise you can't have it. So with the new updates, here is how you can drive legally in Vietnam. The first option is legally drive a scooter without driving license at all, but only if the scooter is up to 50cc, including 50cc. So as long as you drive 50cc or less, no driving license is required. The second option is to drive a scooter between 50cc and 125cc. For that option, a Vietnamese driving license A1 is required. A1 is the most popular driving license in Vietnam, and most of Vietnamese people have it already since they are 18 years old. Prior 2025, A1 license was limited to under 175cc and not under 125cc. So anyone who has already lifetime license A1 prior 2025 still allowed to drive a scooter up to 175cc and not up to 125cc. The third option is license A for unlimited cc. With that license, you are allowed to drive any bike on the planet. Prior 2025, license A was called license A2. If you already have the license A2, like me for instance, you don't need to do anything about it. The traffic police considered license A2 as license A, so you are good to go. So how you get the Vietnamese driving license with the new updates? The first option is conversion of your foreign license to Vietnamese. This is a very easy and cheap process, and all what you need to do is to go to a Vietnamese public notary and translate your license to Vietnamese, and then you go to the traffic police office, and the officer will take a photo of you on a blue background with some other copies of your foreign license, passports, residency card, and then after around 2 weeks, you will have your Vietnamese license. You can do it by yourself or you can do it with an agent. If you choose the option of the agent, I recommend doing this with DC Motobikes, a very well-known shop that deals with driving licenses, driving lessons, motorbike rentals, and more. I myself did my lifetime A2 driving license with them, which is today a license A, and it was a great decision that I made. As before, what you have is what you get. If you have a foreign car license only, you will get a Vietnamese car license only. You won't get a motorbike license. But people with a foreign car license only, I have a good news for you. Prior 2025, in order to have also a bike license, you could do practical test in Vietnam and skip the theory test. The problem is that you could do it only for license A1, which is limited today to 125cc. But as of 2025, you can also skip the theory test for license A, which is, as I said, for unlimited cc. Great news, isn't it? In order to do the practical test, all you need to do is to register at a test center, present your converted Vietnamese car license, do your medical check, and wait for your test day. You can also rent a bike from the test center in order to practice the route of the test. Bear in mind that the registration is in Vietnamese, and most of the people in the test center can't speak English, so if you have a Vietnamese wife, girlfriend, friend, you need them. If you don't want to deal with this by yourself, you can use an agency. Obviously, it will cost more, but it's gonna save a lot of headache. Now, the problem is, as long as you don't do both theory and practical test in Vietnam, you won't get a lifetime license, and your license always will have an expiry date according to your residency card, passport, foreign license, the one that expired earlier, and you will have to renew it over and over again and always be dependent on your foreign license, meaning that every time you renew your Vietnamese license, you will have to translate over and over again your foreign license to Vietnamese and do the same process as if it's the first time. And just to make it clear, people with a foreign car license only that already did in Vietnam a practical test for a motorbike license, you don't need to do the practical test anymore. This is only once in your life, and in the next renewal of your Vietnamese license, you will have also a bike license, so don't worry about that. Speaking about once in your life, here is the other option that I'm going to talk about, a lifetime license. So as I've mentioned earlier, the only way to get a Vietnamese license without an expiry date, Hom Toyan, is to do the full process courses in Vietnam as a Vietnamese theory plus practical test. Any other option, your Vietnamese license will come with an expiry date. So now we are moving on to how to get the Vietnamese lifetime license. Let's talk first about the theory test. You will do the theory test inside a room of the test center on a computer together with other people, most of them Vietnamese. You will have 25 questions and each question has multiple answers and you will have to choose the correct answer. For A1 license, you will need to answer at least 21 questions correctly. And for A license, you will need to answer at least 23 questions correctly. Well, not exactly. Some questions are mandatory and you must answer those correctly. So even if you answer 24 out of the 25 questions correctly but failed one mandatory question, you will still fail the theory test. The theory test is in Vietnamese, no theory test in other languages. You are not allowed to use Google Translate, ChatGPT, or anything else. You are not even allowed to carry your phone with you. The 25 questions is taken out of a set of 250 questions, whether it's A1 or A license. So whether you like it or not, if you want your lifetime license, you will have to memorize 250 questions in Vietnamese in order to pass the theory test. I know it sounds crazy, but many foreigners already did it, including me. And a few years ago, at the time that I did it with many other foreigners, we had to memorize 450 questions. And all of us passed the theory test. So I believe it's easier today with less 200 questions to memorize. Now, earlier I recommended the shop DC Motobikes, and I am telling you, these are professionals with foreigners. They don't pay me anything, I don't owe them anything, but I'm telling you, these are the people that you should do the entire process of the lifetime license with. They help a lot and you need them. Moving on to the practical test. Practical test for class A1 and A is exactly the same but with different bikes. And the figure 8 of the A test is slightly wider. The practical test is only at the test center. You won't go out to the road. The practical test has 4 components: figure 8, straight line, zigzag, and the bumpers. Starting with the figure 8, the most difficult part of the test. Basically, if you pass the figure 8, you passed the test. Then you're moving on to the straight line and drive straight between 2 lines. Then the zigzag. You will have to zigzag between lines that are between 2 lines. And in the end, you will get on bumpers. In order to pass the test, your score must be at least 80 out of 100. You will have a watch on the bike, starts with the score 100. Now, the lines that you are not allowed to touch, surrounded by sensors. And the watch on the bike is synchronized with the sensors. Every time that you are touching the line, you are touching the sensor that's synchronized with the watch on the bike, and 5 points will be deducted. Which means that you are allowed to touch the sensors maximum 4 times, because then your score will be 80 out of 100 and it's still passed. If you put your foot on the floor, then 5 points will be deducted as well. Now, in some situation, you will fail immediately, like if you go at the wrong route or you forget to kick the stand up, or in the case of the A test, if you choose to do the test with a manual bike and the bike stalls. At the same second that you finish the test, you will be notified immediately whether you passed the test or not. The theory test and the practical test are at the same day. In case that you pass the theory test but you failed the practical test, don't worry, you don't need to do the theory test anymore, but you will have to register to the practical test again and do only the practical test in the next official test day. In case that you failed both theory and practical test, you will have to register again to do both in the next official test day. Don't worry, it's not expensive and you don't need to do the medical check anymore. Since the moment that you pass the test, it takes around a month until you will get the driving license. If you have any further questions, you can ask me anything you want at the comments section below. Hit the like button and subscribe my channel in order to follow essential information. See you guys.